Good afternoon, Algebra 2. Got Bigsy here, fired up, ready to go. So I got some warm-up questions for you. Before I do that, just want to clarify, there's some issues going on with Microsoft Teams, with the school district. They're trying to rectify the stuff. There's chats not working, there's video conferencing not working, and I don't know. But anyways, I have set up my office hours for Friday. You can probably see it on the calendar if you go on there. If you want to get on and talk to me about anything on Friday, you can. It's not required. So hopefully that video conferencing thing is all working by then. But anyways, so I have some warm-up questions for you. Go ahead and pause the video and try these. So we have a right triangle drawn here, asking you for the sine of n and the tangent of f. And then over here, I just want to know what quadrant these two angles lie in. That may require you to draw a quick sketch of where they are and let me know. Pause the video, do these two, and we'll go over them in a second. All right, so let's go over these two. So first I asked for the sine of n. N is right down here in this corner, so this angle right here. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite is going to be the 6 right here. The hypotenuse is going to be the 10. So 6/10, which you could reduce to 3/5 if you wanted to. Don't have to. Tangent of f. F's up here now. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. This is all from SOHCAHTOA. Opposite is going to be the 8. The adjacent is going to be the 6. So 8 over 6, which you could reduce to 4/3 if you'd like to as well. All right. Now, as far as over here, these two angles, what quadrant are they in? -260. Remember that negative angles get drawn in the clockwise direction. So if I'm going to draw -260, I'm going to go this way. -90, -180. This is -270 way up here. I'm not quite going to get to there. I'm only going to get to -260. So I'm going to stop about exactly 10 degrees short of there. So it's going to be right there, and we are going to be in quadrant 2. Now I specifically asked this question because it brings up a good point. 180 degrees. Well, 180 degrees is right here. So the question is, what quadrant does 180 lie in? We have quadrant 2 here and quadrant 3 here. So what do? The answer to this is actually that 180 doesn't lie in a quadrant. 180 is called a quadrantal angle, which means it doesn't have a quadrant. It makes up the boundaries that make up the quadrants. So 0, 90, 180, 270, call it 360 over here as well. They're all what we call quadrantal angles. They don't actually lie in a quadrant. They just make up the boundaries of the quadrants. All right. So there's our warm-up. Now for today, I'm just going to show you one quick thing. I'm going to teach you about something called coterminal angles. I also want to mention real quick that what we're doing right now is we're building the foundations of trigonometry. There's a lot to trigonometry. So we started off with your basic SOHCAHTOA. Yesterday I showed you how to sketch angles. Today I'm going to teach you coterminal angles. Tomorrow I'm going to teach you reference angles. I'm building up to all the things we need to be successful with trigonometry. So let's start with coterminal angles today. Coterminal. Co-terminate. That means they end in the same place. So the definition of coterminal is angles that end in the same place. That's kind of a very generic definition, but that's really what's going on here. So if two angles are coterminal, that means they end in the same spot. So let me show you an example of that here. So if I wanted to take, for example, 200 degrees. All right, so let's look at 200 degrees. 200 degrees opens counterclockwise, lands right there. There's 200 degrees. Coterminal means I could name another angle that lands in that same exact spot. So for example, if I wanted to go, let me change colors here so you can see this better. If I wanted to go in the negative direction and land right there, how could I do that? All right, so in the negative direction, how many degrees would that be? So we can figure that out. And whatever that is means these two angles would be coterminal, means they end in the same spot. What is that angle then here in purple that would put me there? Well, if I take 200 and I simply subtract 360 degrees, that tells me that negative 160 degrees would put me in the same place. You got to think of it as 360 is a complete trip around. So if I'm here and I want to go one complete trip around and I just keep going 360 or going 360 this way, it's going to put me there. So using 360 will help me find these coterminal angles. So let me show you another example of that. If I wanted to find an angle that is coterminal with 520, well, let's think about where 520 is. 520 degrees is one complete trip around, which puts me at 360, plus another 160 more, which puts me right there. There's where 520 is, but what angle is coterminal with 520? Well, I can figure that out by instead of adding 360 this time, I can subtract 360 from 520, and I get 160 degrees. So that means that instead of going all the way around to 520, I could simply just go here and do 160 and be at the same spot. So everything's based off of 360. This is going to be helpful down the road for us. So again, I'm going to do the next couple without a diagram. I'm just going to look at it from a 360 perspective. If I wanted to find an angle that's coterminal with 375, since 375 is bigger than 360, I can simply subtract 360 and find out that 15 degrees is coterminal with 375. Let's do that again. What about negative 100 degrees? Well, since negative 100 degrees is negative, and I want to find an angle that's coterminal, and when we find these coterminal angles, we want them to be positive. So if I add 360, that's going to put me at 260 degrees. That angle is coterminal with negative 100. What about an angle like negative 700? If I add, because it's negative, if I add 360 to it, that's going to put me at negative 340 degrees. That's still a negative angle. So I haven't gotten to anything positive yet. No problem. Simply add 360 one more time, and that puts me at 20 degrees. And now I have found a positive angle that's coterminal with negative 700. So there are some examples of coterminal angles. That's what it means to be coterminal. It means to end in the same place. When we're doing coterminal angles, we're looking for positive angles. This is going to be helpful down the road when we start to get into some other things. For now, let's just make sure we know how to find coterminal angles. The homework assignment I'm going to give you is going to ask you to find positive coterminal angles. So either add 360 or subtract 360. That's going to get you your answer every single time, and you should be good.